How y'all doing? This is my third attempt to make this video. Bear with me, I'm trying. There's always something. There's always gotta be noise. I'm trying to find. I need to move a big ass head so that it blocks out the light. This is my OSR video that I promised you guys. Or the Reformatory. So, the Ohio State Reformatory, also called OSR, A Brief History. It's not one thing, it's another. The cornerstone for OSR was laid November 4th, 1886, and is a tour point that can be seen on the west porch. This colossal beauty was designed by famed Cleveland architect Levi T. Schofield. Schofield drew his architectural inspiration from the Victorian Gothic, Richardson Romanesque, and Queen Anne styles. The prison was officially opened in 1896, which is 10 years after construction began. Only the west side was finished when the first inmates were brought to the prison. They were then made to construct the east side, as well as the outbuildings, and if I remember correctly, the wall that used to block them from the outside world. The outbuildings would have wood shops and things like that, different places for learning skills, because in the beginning it was a reformatory. The goal was not to be a maximum security prison, it was to reform juvenile delinquents and make them outstanding members in society so they could go back out into the world. It was never meant to be what it was. It became the maximum security hellhole that we hear about today in the 1960s. The prison was only in operation for 94 years, closing in 1990 due to the overwhelming number of complaints of overcrowding and inhumane living conditions. While I put quotes around that, it is true. All the inmates were moved then to one of the two active prisons directly behind OSR. We're not going to get too much into the history, like the deaths and stuff, but a few notable deaths, because they're things that I've experienced myself, so I just feel like we should go through those deaths. You have Warden and Mrs. Glackey. Mrs. Glackey is the reason that I started ghost hunting, because I seen her one Halloween. For details of that story, see my book. One Sunday, she was getting her hat box down for church. Her husband's revolver was on top of it. She didn't know that. The revolver fell, hit the ground, discharging and shooting her. A common misperception is that the gunshot wound is what killed her. That's not the case. She was rushed to the hospital for the gunshot wound, where she would later die of pneumonia. The warden, he was in his office sometime later. It is worth mentioning that after she was shot, it was her sons who found her and called for help. So, the warden, he would later suffer a heart attack in his office, which he did not die instantly. Just like with his wife, his sons found him called for help, and he was rushed to the local hospital where he died. Yes, he died from the heart attack, but not at the prison. Neither of them died on the property, which is something that is commonly said on TV, but they weren't. On TV, you're always hearing that a warden and his wife died on the property. Not true. We know that they're still there. First of all, as I said, I seen Helen myself in one of the windows. But for most people, she presents herself by smelling her beautiful rose perfume. And the warden, once again, I've had the pleasure of experiencing it myself. He presents himself with the smell of his cherry pipe tobacco, which anybody who knows me knows I love the smell of pipe tobacco. So it's fantastic whenever he comes around. One of the most notable suicides what took place there was a young man named Lockhart. He set himself on fire. One night he decided he was not going to dinner. Somehow he got his hands on accelerant, which he doused his body in and his mattress, setting himself on fire, and he used the mattress to keep the guards from being able to get to him to help him. Inmates who were in cells around him claimed that his flesh had melted off his bones and just basically smeared the cell block, and it smelled horrific. And that's not just inmates. There are guards who were there at the time who were still around for a while. I don't know if they still are or not, but they did confirm that is absolutely true. Something else that's commonly said on TV that's not true whatsoever is that formal executions took place at the Reformatory. They did not. If you were slated for death, you were transferred to Ohio Penitentiary in Columbus, Ohio, to be executed. Though for some time you would be housed at OSU. Because this is my third attempt to make this video, I did listen to the voice recordings. Sorry, I'm trying to stop a sneeze while I'm trying to do this video so I look ridiculous. I did listen to all the recordings and I was trying to wrap it up, but I had a customer come in making all kinds of racket. And anybody who knows me also knows I don't have patience for that, so I just killed the whole video. Unfortunately, I didn't get any EVPs. That's not true. I did get some footsteps in the east shower. It was a point I was there by myself, and it was a point that I was leaned up against a wall that was 40 feet or so away from my recorder, and like I said, I was leaned up against the wall. I wasn't walking around, and I was by myself. Nobody else was in the room. There's enough ambient light coming in from the active prisons out behind the reformatory that I could literally see everything in the showers. There was nobody there. While I was reading updates on baseball, I know nothing about baseball, but I know that there's a spirit in there who does enjoy baseball scores. So I just Googled it and I just read whatever popped up. And while I was doing that is when you heard footsteps. Other than that, unfortunately, I got nothing. And it happens. Hopefully tomorrow, or later today, I should say, when I get my memory card reader and I can upload my couple videos onto my laptop. Hopefully I caught something on camera. Um Now I did have a lot of experiences that night, personal experiences. Things that other people around me also heard and seen or felt. Sadly, any voices I heard didn't get picked up on my voice recorder. But that's what you get when you only run it for a few minutes here and there. I'll do better next time. I'll run it the whole time. Um, so just a rundown of some things that happened when I wasn't running a voice recorder, when I was not running my camera. Unfortunately, the battery only lasts for 2 hours, and I only have two batteries. I gotta fix that. I'm gonna work on it. I swear. Um, but so I had to pick and choose when to use my camera. Um, in the West Attic, first part of the video, I should say, is going to show that I went to the West Attic and I stood up to whatever darkness is in there that got hold of me 4 or 5 years ago. Once again, for full details of that experience, see my book. Let me see if I can put that. Nope, didn't work. And then you just see I'm fat. We'll just leave it right here. It'll be alright. I need to quit moving. Let me sit straight up. No more moving. At least I'm gonna try. For full details of that experience, see my book, which I will name again at the end of this video. But while I was in there, and I'm hoping I caught this on camera because it would be really, really cool if I did. I was in the back room. There was a couple sitting out in the main part of the attic. And when I finished my little speech, I either said something like, make a noise so I know you heard me, or make a noise so I know you understood me, something like that. But I did tell it to make a noise to let me know that, it heard what I was saying. And me and the guy both heard a whistle. Very clear. Hope I got it on my camera. I was recording at the time, so I'm really, really hoping that it picked up. Later that night, I went back in there. I went back in the attic like 3 or 4 times that night. Later on, I'd gone back in there, and there was a group doing a spirit box session. For those of you who don't know, spirit box is just an instrument that basically scans through radio frequencies so fast you pretty much only get the white noise. And it is theorized that it helps spirit to speak to you so you can, in theory, have a real-time conversation. So I had asked the people who were in the room when we went back, do you mind if I ask some questions? They said, no, go ahead. So I said, do you remember me from 5 years ago? Just plain as you can hear me speaking now. It said yes. I said, all right. I said, so are you the one that attacked me? A few minutes went by and we heard yes, because nobody else said anything. And I said, okay. Are you the one that I yelled at earlier and sounded like a lunatic? And a minute later, we heard yes. So I'm like, okay. I said, so we're okay now? I don't have to worry about you. You don't have to worry about me. And it said, sure. Now, sure, we use sure as in whatever. Like, just get out my face.